So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on today's interview. We have Miss Cassandra, and I'm super excited, you guys, because I've been trying to get her interviewed forever. So, y'all know it got to be something. So, I'm super excited. Let me tell you guys really quick why I chose her, and then I'm going to let her introduce herself in her own little way. But I chose you because mainly I was like, she does so much. And I remember it was something that I had to do or that I was going to do. And I remember reaching out to you and you gave me so much knowledge in reference to it. I remember you were doing the like get togethers with the ladies and teaching them makeup and all of that. And I was like, I love everything about that impact that you were doing. And this was years ago. So I just knew that it was something about wanting to interview you so that other people can hear everything that you do and where you're located and how they can keep in touch with you, so on and so forth. In addition to everything that's going to be linked below, you guys see all of her information is below, so you guys can get in touch with her through those. But I'm going to let her introduce herself as well. So go ahead, tell them about
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm excited to be here. I'm so glad that I was asked. I'm humbled. My name is Cassandra McClendon. I am an elder. I am an esthetician. I am an accountant for a nonprofit. Wear the hats of mother, leader, youth pastor, whatever you want to call me. I am in service. I have been in ministry. Well, let me back up.
yourself.
As a young child, I was considered peculiar because I remember even back in sixth grade carrying my Bible
Oh,
to
really?
school. And they were like, why you always got that Bible? But I was always intrigued with the stories in the Bible. So I've been reading it, not because someone told me, but because I had an interest. So I always knew I was a little different. I've always been a leader. When I was about 9, that's when I started directing the choir in church. So I was directing, and me and my sister and my god sister, my mother would have us sing, and so
Mhm.
we had a group called the Angels,
Okay.
and so we would just sing songs that she taught us, and she would get invited and have us get up and sing in church. And so from there, other young people would see us and they would want to join. And so it became the from the three angels to the angels. And then my brother, he wanted to join. And so we didn't have any boys. And so we was like, well, we can't call ourselves the angels. So when he joined, we called ourselves the angels and the added touch. And so it
Wow.
grew from an ensemble to a full-blown youth choir of like 30 something youth. So in a matter of like a few years. So I got a lot of history with choirs and in church and being a leader, to the point we love church so much. This is a funny story. And my mother's only told this story once in church.
Okay.
One day she came home. You know how you're not supposed to have kids in the house? Well, we had kids in the house,
And y'all was
but
having
we were having
church.
church. And when she said, what are y'all doing? I said, we had filled the tub up. We were in there baptizing kids in the name of Jesus. And my mother couldn't get mad because we were trying to do something good, but she had to talk
Wow.
with us. But it goes all the way back to that.
My
I've
God.
always had a passion for makeup, and
Uh-huh.
I remember being younger and staring at magazines, the Ebony's and the
Uh-huh.
Jets, and I'm looking at these models and I'm looking at the people in the advertisement, and I just wanted to know, how did they get their face to look like that? So I
Yeah.
would study faces. And so eventually I got into makeup. Now I want to say this goes all the way back to seventh grade. I started dibbling, dabbling in makeup. You couldn't wear your eyeliner. Your mom was like, no. So I would dibble and dabble, but you weren't allowed to wear it outside of the house.
Okay.
That changed from me wearing it to me putting it on my friends. And for years, I was doing my friends' makeup. I forgot that I had did weddings and things like that. And so when I got ready to turn 40, I decided I'm going to do this professionally. And so I went
Yes.
back to school to become an esthetician. I am happy I did it.
Yes.
And it is my passion because I want to make women feel good
Yes.
as they do on the inside, on the
Hmm.
outside. whatever level that is. If you are the
My
one that you
God.
just love color and you just
Mm.
want to express yourself with color, that's fine. If you're one that you just a natural beauty, that's fine. I think women are beautiful in whatever stage that they are and
Yes.
whatever makes them feel comfortable. As long as you are wearing the Maybelline and the Maybelline is not wearing you.
Come
And
on.
that's what I tell everyone. Every foundation needs a foundation. So your skin should be intact, your heart should be intact, your spirit should be intact. So when we were in school, we all had to come up with a name. And
Mm.
I wanted a name that reflected my faith.
Yes.
All everybody else was getting these catchy names, and I was like, well, Lord, I need something that speaks to my faith. And
Hmm.
so the name Masterpieces came into fruition.
Yeah.
And it was better because I do more than just the
Yep.
esthetician and the
Hmm.
makeup. I'm the event planner. I do, different things like that. I don't
Wow.
always say what I do. I
Yes.
just do it if
Just
it
do it.
needs the help. I also used to do hair all this time. So it wasn't just me doing the makeup, it was me doing the hair. So whenever anyone would ask me on Facebook and I would post, oh, who does your hair? And I'm like, well, I did my hair. Most of the time, if you saw my hair done, unless I tag someone, I'm probably the one that did it. And so Masterpieces is a conglomerate of all the things that we do
Yes.
because we want the master's touch, and God doesn't make any junk, and everything he makes the masterpiece. And so we
Yes.
had to, that's why I came up with the name, and I sought the Lord and I asked him, well, what does masterpieces mean? A masterpiece is the beauty that starts within.
My God.
It is a mind, a body, and a spirit
Yes.
in balance,
Yes.
which produces a beautifully and wonderfully made masterpiece. And that
My
is my beauty philosophy. And so, under that umbrella, masterpiece is extended to ministry because when you were talking about the ladies, I didn't even charge for that. I decided on my birthday that I want to bless some ladies to feel good. So I
my
actually did that on my
God.
birthday, and they all came and we had a good time. In COVID now, I'm unable to do those things, but don't worry, the Lord is working with me. And so, as
Yes.
far as ministry goes, I've
Mhm.
always been in church, like I said, but it's
Okay.
never been a desire to say, I'm going to preach one day. I'm not the
Yes.
one to get up and say that. I might say, I'm going to sing and I'm going to do records for church because I would be
Yes.
the worship leader and I would teach the choir and I was the music
Okay.
director and all of that. But it would never be me getting up and saying, I'm gonna preach. And so one day I got the nerve and the bravery, I call that bravery, because sometimes when you ask God for something, you
Yes.
don't really want to know the
He
answer.
will give it.
So this is what happened. I was in a transition part of my life,
Okay.
and I asked God, and I was taking my Bible again. I was going to work at this time. I was on public
Mhm.
transportation. And I said, God, I need to know, what do you call me to do?
Mm,
And
mhm.
so I got my Bible in my hand. I ain't opened it. And so I said, I need you to talk to me today. I need you to tell me, what am I supposed to do? And when I opened the book of the word up, the book of Jeremiah, the first chapter,
Mm, 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 mm,
came
mm.
open. And
Mm.
he told me that he called me a prophet to the nations. I'm like, wow, really, God? And so I'm saying to you, if you ask God something, don't be surprised. Sometimes you think he won't answer, but he'll give you a ready answer,
Yes, he
and you
will.
just got to be ready to accept it. And
Uh-huh.
so from there on, I understood that that's what he was
Yes.
calling me to do. But it was a process between that time that I knew
Yes.
until now. And
Yes.
so leading up to that, I got confirmations and prophetic words speaking over my
My
life.
God.
But it wasn't so much as those things, because those things are confirmations to
Yes.
conversations that you were having with God already.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream, and
Okay.
I'm an interpreter of dreams.
Yes.
And so I'm laying on the floor. I happened to be sleeping on the floor at this point when
Okay.
I was having this dream. And a bright light came in the room, and the light was so bright that I
Yes.
was afraid to open my eyes, because I was like, this light's so
Wow.
bright, if I open my eyes I might be blind. And I
Yeah.
could feel a heat come from
Mm.
the bottom of my feet all the way up to the top of my head. And
Mom.
while I'm feeling that heat, I can hear angels in my ear speak, preach the word, in season, out of season. And it was just them proclaiming over me the things that I was going to be doing. And so I didn't need nothing else. I knew God called me, and all I had to do was wait for the opportunity for God to say go. And so from there, my dad, who is our apostle, our pastor,
Mhm.
he pushed me out and told me, "You're ready for your first sermon." So I had my first sermon in 1997.
Wow.
Um, he ordained us. I think it was in 2000,
Okay.
and I've been running ever since. I was running before then, but I've been running ever since. And I do know that I am called to help a lot of women, but I'm called to help anyone, especially anyone that God brings to us. And
Yeah.
so while I feel that women, they do come to me, and I do recognize that I have an influence and a audience with them. I
Mhm.
try to use my time carefully. I try to listen,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
try to minister to them as the Lord has given unto me.
Yes.
I am I'm working on something right now. Back in 2017, the Lord brought to me about the table of influence, and he has brought
Wow.
that back around to me. And the reason why I want to
Ooh,
talk about the
that's
table
gonna
of
be good.
influence is because women in ministry, especially, we
Mhm.
need mentors. We need to be taught. We need people to speak into our lives. We need
Yes.
that support, and we don't
Yes.
always get that because in ministry is still male dominated, but
Mhm.
there are just certain rules that apply to women that might not apply to a man. I
Yeah.
thank God for the women that I've encountered. Dr. Apostle Venice McCoy, she would do
Mhm.
these women conferences and these teachings, and from her experiences, and she would pour into us, and I'm
Mhm.
appreciative of that. And so when I talk about the table of influence, I am talking about your circle.
Okay. Mhm.
When you have a home, everyone has a home.
Yeah.
Your life, your body, your spirit being is
Yes.
your home. And
Yes.
so people just can't walk into your house.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, they have to be invited. And
Mhm.
so we sit at a table. At
My.
a table is where we break bread. At
Mm,
a table is where we give secrets. Is at a
mm.
table where we have disputes and we hash things out. And so when we're women, every woman needs 3 women in their life.
Mhm.
And so at your table should be
My
these three
God.
types of women.
My
And
God.
the first type of woman is a Naomi, and she is your
Mm.
spiritual mother. She is
Yes.
a woman that pours
Yes.
over
Yes. Yes.
you,
Yes.
that pours into you,
Mm.
that tells you when, hey, no, 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 that's not the way to do it, my darling. She shows you how to do things, shows you how to
Yes.
behave. She imparts all of that wisdom that
Yes.
Naomi had with Ruth. She would pour it in. I like to think of Naomi represented as a pearl, the
Yes.
pearls of wisdom.
My
The
God.
second woman in your life, I think about the relationship of Mary and Elizabeth, her cousin. Elizabeth is more like your counterpart, your friend, your equal, your peer, your the person that has your listening ear for you. The
Mhm.
girlfriend
Mhm.
who's gonna tell you when your skirt too short or when your attitude is too stanky.
Come
So
on.
you need that type of girlfriend in your life who can speak those things to you, and you understand that you have that type of relationship that she can speak
Yes.
that and you will listen to her. And
Yeah.
so Elizabeth, we all need that Elizabeth, that counterpart in our life. And Elizabeth is represented by the earrings because
Yes.
you have that covenant of a listening ear. She is there for you.
Yes.
And then
My God.
after we received all these things, God has told us to disciple one another.
Yes.
And just like Naomi had a roof who clinged to her and that she
Mhm.
poured into, we all need a roof that we're pouring into. And so
Yes.
Ruth
Yes.
is the one that you make covenant with, that you become the Naomi
Mm.
too.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you
Mm.
pour into Ruth and you're covenant with her. And Ruth is represented by the ring because a ring represents covenant. And
Yes.
so these are the people that we need to have at our table. And at any given time of your life, you have been
Mhm.
a Ruth, you have been an Elizabeth, and you have been a Naomi, or you are operating in all 3 of those.
My
If we
God.
can look for each other and redevelop this in
Mm.
ministry, women in ministry will have more support.
Yes.
Women in ministry will feel more affirmed, even though you're
Mm.
affirmed by the Lord. But there are some things that are earthly bound that you need.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to be talking to a human being. And if we
Mhm.
can do all this, if we culture this, if we cultivate this, then I believe we would have more strength in ministry.
Yes.
I believe we would have more women, even more women excelling, because women are excelling, women are
Yes.
leading, we're doing everything, but
Hmm.
we need that support system, and we
Yes.
don't need to be tearing each other down.
No.
We need to
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
find a way to gently admonish our sisters when they are in that mode.
Yes.
And identify those things, because when we're in that mode, that means that there's something that we haven't dealt with within ourselves. And
Yes.
so those are some of the things that I work on. Those are some of the things I'm constantly
Yes, God.
in with. If I told you right now, I get a lot of dream requests. And see, to me, I'm still learning, and they want to know,
Mhm.
how do I know? But generationally in my family,
Mhm.
the things that I know have been passed down through generation. And I have
Wow.
sat in on a class or two, because education is still important.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even then, I can still learn. You need,
Yeah.
if I come in the mindset of being teachable and knowing that
Hmm.
I don't know everything, that's the
That's
best place to
important.
be. You
That's
can
the best
excel.
place to
And
be.
so these are the things that I do.
My
Um,
God.
Whenever I'm needed, I just, wherever I'm needed, I just feel
Yes.
like God has called us to be available. He says, "You
Yes.
want to be, Lord, I'm available to you."
Uh-huh.
And so
Uh-huh.
coming up in this year, there's some, how you get a prophetic word. Well, I got that
Yes.
last warning. So the things that I do endeavor to do this year is to bring back that table of influence. I'm just trying
Yes.
to figure out how to do it in COVID.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I will be getting into the recording studio, because the last time I did a live, I had a person like, when you gonna record that song? And
Yes.
so God is kind of lining those things up. So these are
Yes.
things that are coming. And so
My God.
I'm just happy to be walking in the things that He has called me to.
Yeah.
There's more to be done, and that we are never done, but we should
Never.
always be looking to do greater. And we should
Yes.
learn from our mistakes and have that a man in the mirror talk every now and then. Because I don't know about anybody else, but when I did something in particularly, that voice was like, "Now you know you wasn't right. You need to go back and fix that thing."
Yes.
That's the Holy Spirit. He won't let you.
Yes.
So yeah, those are that is me. I mean, if
Okay.
you know me, you'll know that if I can offer you something, I will. I will offer you whatever I have. And
Yes.
if I don't know the answer, or if I can't provide the service, I'll like to build a network of women and
Yes.
me I can point you to, because there's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of work. It says the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few.
The
There's
labors are
plenty for
few.
all of us. I
My
believe in
God.
community and networking. And if we could get that mindset, we will be doing great, great
Yes.
things.
Yes. And it's not never about competition. And you find that a lot in women amongst each other. That is always like, I
Yes.
want to be in a better place than you, or a better position than you, or I have what you need to get you a little higher, but then
Mhm.
that's gonna put you a little higher than me. So I'm not gonna help you. But that's not a mindset of God.
That's
That's
not
not
kingdom.
how God wants us to be.
No.
He help each other. He wants us to lean on each other and be able to depend on each other and be able to hold each other up when we are falling. But
Yes.
I want to go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
So, when you said that you were carrying your Bible and you knew that you were called back then, how did that look to you compared to the people that you were connected to or that were around you? Did it ever make you feel like this was it was rough for you? Because what it sounds like is as a pastor's child, a PK, you often tend to feel left out or feel like you're missing out. What do you want to say to those people who are Bible walkers or Bible carriers, and they know that they're called, they know who they are, they know who they're called to be, and this is only in elementary school, so they have to miss out on things? What do you want to say to them?
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you, at that time, my mom was not married to a pastor.
Wow. Okay.
She was married, but she wasn't married to a pastor. It was just me as a child, just being different and wanted to know more about the Lord. Now, did I get questions about my Bible? Yes, I got
Okay.
questions about my Bible, but
Okay.
I didn't feel like they were picking on me. And if they
Mm,
were, I didn't allow that them to see that.
mm,
I just offered the stories and say, hey, it's some good stories in here, if you read it. And so
mm.
probably that was part of my little evangelism part.
Yes.
Um, at the same time,
Okay.
at that time, probably did not bother me as much because one of the things we did have a singing group where we sang in church,
Okay.
but we
Okay.
also had a singing group where we were not singing in church and we would do
Oh,
talent shows. And so the
okay.
kids knew us from the talent shows. To the point that when we walked down the halls in grammar school, they would just stop and do whatever we were doing in the talent. Hey, I remember you, and they would do the talent shows, and we
Wow.
were well received in that way to the point that
Okay.
when we were no longer going to the grammar school, they asked us to come back. So we never won,
Wow.
even though that's a whole other story. But as a child, I always was the girlfriend that had the different opinion.
My God.
I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable or sticking out. So
Ma'am.
God got me used to that early. So
Yes.
when in my life, not saying I wasn't saved all my life, but I did
Okay.
have some type of influence in my life. And so I remember as a young woman, my whole thing was I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids. I had the
Okay.
number of kids I wanted. I had the date I wanted to be married. I wanted somebody that was nice. And
Okay.
so those things began to happen for me.
Yes.
However, it didn't go smooth like I thought it should.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I was experiencing some things, and me not being as in tune with God. So what happened was, this is the one thing I wanted, and now it's here. I'm getting ready to get it. I got
Mm-hmm.
someone who loves me, who wants to propose to me, but we can't get it together. There's some kind of agitation.
Mm,
There's no sync. And if I am getting married, God, why am I so miserable? And so
mm,
I was thinking that it was the devil that was
my God.
trying to keep me from being married.
My God.
Okay. And so
Okay. Come on. Talk.
it
Talk to
wasn't
the
the
people,
devil, it
ma'am.
was
Talk to
God
the people.
agitating, trying to say, hello, hello, hello.
Andokushaya.
This is not who I chose for you. And so in
Mm,
that
mm,
time, while I was going through what I was going through, struggling, I had to ask myself some questions. Now I want you to understand, the date was picked, the hall was partially paid for, the dresses were being made, my wedding gown was bought, the invitations was just about to be ordered, and I had a heart to heart with God, and I pretty much said, I surrender.
mm,
I choose to let go of this thing that I really wanted, God, and embrace everything you have for me.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
so
mm.
I called the engagement off. It was not something I wanted to do. It was not a happy time because people were thinking, oh, he don't want to marry her. When the truth was, it was me trying to release myself because I felt it was like a bondage. Um,
Mm.
it's not supposed to feel like bondage. And I had
Okay.
to ask myself the questions, which is why I tell when my husband and I are talking to couples, you ask the questions that you are afraid to hear the answer to.
That right
You are
there.
born. You
My
ask those
God.
questions.
You have to.
Because you have to, because if you don't start with some truth and some foundation and get all that out of the way, it's going to be in the way for the rest of your marriage, for the rest of your relationship.
Yes, it
And
is. It
I believe
is.
sometimes we don't want to do that because we may find out that
Mm-hmm.
this is not the person that we should be with. And
Yeah.
so in doing that, I kind of felt like the first 2 weeks, I felt like, did I miss God? Like, was I just overreacting? And so,
Mm.
do you know God will give you a confirmation
Yes, he
that two
will.
weeks later, I got a confirmation that I did the right thing. And I thank God because He
Wow.
did that so that sometimes life interruptions is not just to interrupt you, but to
Yes.
redirect you in another direction that He wanted you to go.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
these are
My
the things
God.
that happened to me. Now, prior to that, it was more than that. Now, let me really build the picture about being the outside and the outcast. My
Okay.
dad had a church where he got saved.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up growing up in that church. He ended up being the assistant pastor,
Mm-hmm.
much to the protest of everyone else because he was too young.
Mm.
But the bishop had a vision, and he could see down who would carry the church to where it needed to be. Well, 8 years into he co-pastored for 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then his bishop died.
Mm-hmm.
And when bishop died, he became pastor for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes God will disrupt some things. There was some changes, some growth going on inside of him.
Yeah.
And the things that he were taught, he was going in another direction
Okay.
in ministry, and things that he was taught in ministry didn't make sense. And he was looking through the Bible, and basically he's had to figure out what God wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to understand, my church is full of people that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Half of those people worked at the job with me,
Wow.
and then we're home. Well, we were going through something at the church at the time that his transition was getting ready. God was speaking and dealing with him. So we was going on with tension in the church.
My God.
Whereas my mother and them could go home, I got to go to work with these church folks that's giving us tension. And then when we get home, all of us are exhausted and drained from all of the other stresses from the church. So it was like no escape. But I still had to stand and be the outstanding one during that whole transition time.
My God.
And so right after that is when we did end up starting our church. And then right after that is when the whole marriage thing, the wedding thing fell apart. So I went on a journey. And so I decided that God, there's a journey that I needed to go, because I was making decisions, but I didn't know me. And so yes, ma'am.
You know what but before you go to the next part, I really want people to understand what I just heard you say. I
Okay.
just heard you say that you had a desire and you were willing to do what you desired over top of the will of God. But it took for you to submit yourself to understand, God, I know that this is what I want. But if this is not what I'm supposed to do, this is not what you have for me, I'm willing to surrender it. A lot of people don't have that moment with themselves, and a lot of people end up in bad situations, whether it's with a child, whether it's through a divorce, whether it's through getting an abortion, whether it's so many different situations. And it's always because sometimes we have a desire that's deep in us, and we try to use scripture sometimes to pinpoint what we want to happen. So we'll say, but God say, if first seek me first, the kingdom of, I've been seeking God. So since I've been seeking God and this is my desire, I've been doing right. This is what's going to happen. And it came and it all seemed like it was going good. But then you said that there was something that just did not seem right. Can we speak to the person right now who might be watching this, who may be sitting in a situation and you are like, this is my desire, but it don't feel right?
Okay, well, let me tell you, I had to ask me a question.
Oh, my.
And the question I had to ask me, even though I wanted this so bad,
my God,
I had to look at the situation and
yes,
survey and say, can I live with this for the rest of my life? Are you satisfied with living on eggshells, with being miserable, sick, even, this was causing physical things, because my spirit, it just wasn't right in my spirit.
My
and so
God.
you have to ask yourself,
Jesus.
can I live with this for the rest of my life? If you're in a bad situation and you know it's bad, the fear of living in that situation for the rest of my life was greater than the fear of what I thought people would think of me. And that's how I ended up making that decision. And I had to take a really deep breath, because this was not overnight. This was over some months. And I said, God, I heard that what you have is better than what I asked for. So it was one of those, you know how they have those trust falls in the workplace, and they just tell you to fall. It was one of my trust. That was one of the times where I let go and I had to trust God. And I said,
my God,
I choose. Notice I said, I choose.
Yeah, because it's a choice.
The choice. It's not like, oh, I could, no, girl, I don't see how. No, I choose to release everything that I think I want and embrace everything that you have for me. And I want to let you know that I did something a little further, because sometimes it's just like, Lord, I just want to begin. That's when my healing started beginning. I mean, I was rebellious for a little while because I felt like, God, you failed me. I was rebellious for a little time after that. And it was a state that just shook me and said, what are you doing? And that just put me back in alignment. But when I made that choice and I chose to embrace everything that God had for me, It
Mm.
couldn't be anything but better. But I didn't want to feel that way again. So I talked to the Lord. And I had a conversation with the Lord that I did not tell not one soul, not my mama, not my spiritual mama, not my sister, nobody,
Okay.
me and God. And I told God, I don't want you to reveal my secret or anything about me in this conversation that I had with God,
Jesus.
unless it was the man that you determined that should be my husband.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so I didn't care, you know, there was a journey after that, but
Okay.
I asked God not to reveal me
Yeah.
unless it was my husband. And
My
so
God.
the funny thing is, I I went on this journey, and it wasn't me. I guess I was
Okay.
just along for the ride. But
Okay.
when I tell you all, I know everybody had these stories about for a long time. I ain't date no one. Well, honey, the church men and the deacons felt like I was a good woman, and they felt like it was their duty to help me. And they would bring, I got a friend that I want you to.
Are you
So,
serious?
so y'all, I had some church blind dates. Let me tell y'all about them.
Oh my God.
You, honey, but he will protect you. I'm telling you. And so,
Oh my God. I
y'all,
can only imagine.
honey, I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you something. This is something else I learned in this journey of
Oh
singleness.
my
That
gosh.
nowadays my friends say they don't get approached, but honey, people, I wasn't getting approached. I was getting fixed up.
You
I
was
was approached
getting
a couple of times.
you was getting more than fixed up.
so, so the first time that someone approached me, it would appear that it was good pick. And I'm telling you these things because my friend's like, you need to write a book, but you know, when God in God's time. So one of the deacons, he had a friend,
Uh-huh.
and young man was very handsome, and on
Okay.
paper looked good. He was a fireman, good job, good credit, all that stuff. And see how God will protect you. We never could get it together. He came one day, we had a good conversation, and we were supposed to meet up again. And so we never could get back to the point where we meet up again.
Okay.
And I want to let you all know that during this time I was journaling, because when I decided to take this journey of celibacy and embracing
Yeah.
everything that God have, I didn't
Mhm.
have any friends. They was just, I was in my early 20s. You know,
Oh,
they were like, you crazy, you know. They wasn't ready. So
okay.
I was ready. And
Okay.
so I would journal. And so at the point where the deacon got frustrated, he was like, no, no, she can't go with him no more. And so let me tell you why. Because we found out that he had a stalker. And so God was orchestrating that all along. He didn't want me to come on that. I said, God, don't put me with nobody that's not
Right.
supposed to be with me. And so
Yeah.
that happened. And then the next time it was another deacon, and they had a friend, and he owned buildings. And I mean, it wasn't like on paper they weren't good. It's just that
Okay.
I didn't, you know, I
But
honey,
that don't
yeah,
matter. On
it
paper,
don't.
on paper, anything could look good.
Right. It just
Anything could
didn't
look good
matter.
on paper.
Right. They look good on paper. And
Right.
literally, sometimes they look good on paper. So I was like, you know what? They meant well. But I think the
Okay.
funniest thing was we had this thing at church where we want to honor the members. And
Okay.
so I'm observed. We had what we call the Thanksgiving gala, and we would do it in
Okay.
November.
Okay.
And the church members would dress up, and they would have red carpet, and we would take pictures, and we would give out awards. And you
Okay.
know, the awards were like the Davidic award, who had the greatest praise,
Come on
uh
here.
somebody expressed the greatest faith, you know, Bulldog Faith Award, and even had some humor, because there was one award called the Rugrat. And the Rugrat was the one that was always laid out on the floor for the whole
Oh my
year.
gosh, are you serious?
Yes. And so we had this gala, and it was the end of the gala, and I hear this group of church men snickering. I'm like, what is they laughing at? Because I'm just busy trying to get everything else. And I look up, and there's this gentleman. He walks in, and he says, "Excuse me, uh, Sister Cassandra, my name is Quincy, and I came to ask you out on a date." And I was like 30 at this time.
Uh-huh.
and he had to be about 50 something.
Ooh,
And
okay.
and now this is a lesson for ladies. I know that there's going to be some times where
Yeah.
somebody is just not, you just ain't gonna go there. But what I want you to know is be polite, be
Yes.
nice, be
Because you can
sweet.
hurt people's feelings.
Yes. And so my response was, Lord, give me the right words. So my response was, how you doing,
Okay.
Brother Quincy? I am so flattered that you came all this way to ask me out on a date, but I am not dating anyone at this time. I am, and I had to, and I did it very gently. And he said, thank you. And he went on his way. But I'm telling you, in this time where I was single, people like, I don't get approached, but I got stories. And then I had one last
My
one,
God.
and he thought he was the prettiest thing ever. And I was looking at my member like, why did you think I would think he was? If he thought it was pretty, that's not my. So I'm
Okay.
telling you, I had church blind dates, and
My
I learned
God.
a lesson from each and every one. These were voluntarily and involuntarily church dates in
Okay.
these in these journeys. But thinking the men of God were thinking about I was a good woman. They do
Yes.
recognize that. But
Yes.
y'all need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I appreciated the sentiment. And you gotta understand that you gotta appreciate the sentiment,
Yes.
and that this was some of the things that I was experiencing. But I during that time in my quiet times, I had those moments like, Lord, I am having an issue, and what is taking so long. And the
Yeah.
journal will help me, and
My
me
God.
praying and being on my face. And I did notice that during that time, my prophetic gift was very heightened,
Okay.
and things would happen right away. And in particular, we have this friend because I met my husband through a mutual friend.
Okay. Okay.
Our mutual friend has passed on. In 2019, he passed away.
Okay.
But our mutual friend, I met my husband through him. And the irony is, I met this friend because he came to my church to evangelize.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, you never know the
Mm-mm.
degrees of separation. I don't care what city you live in.
My God.
This friend ended up being friends with another friend that I knew from childhood, who I never thought would be a preacher because he was beating everybody up on the corner. And
Oh,
so we all kind of reconnected that way. And
wow.
so they had a friend talking about preacher dates. And
Uh-huh.
this particular man of God, we were dating. And for some reason, God would just gave me a dream about him right away after I met him. But I didn't, sometimes when you get dreams, you don't know the
Yeah.
full thing. And so I was able to interpret all but one part of the dream. And everything I told him in the dream did come true over the months. And
Wow.
so when I met my husband, I would happen to be on a date with that preacher at the mutual friend's house when I actually first met my
Wow.
husband. It
Okay.
wasn't until the following year when I was doing a single conference that we had to work on the praise and worship team together. And he
Wow.
actually helped me with my conference that we actually got to know each other.
Okay.
Um, so I said, well, what's this last part of this dream? And he was able to give me the last part of the dream. And when he did, I was like, oh, that's why Jesus didn't want to tell me. See, sometimes God don't give you everything because he don't want you to tell
Yeah.
that part. And
Yeah.
so one day in the midst of me doing this single conference, and let me explain why I was doing the single conference. We
You
tend
were
as
still
Christians,
single.
I was still single, but I had been to a few single conferences and I was
Okay.
disgruntled and unsatisfied. And I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you why, because they treated the singles conference, they don't treat it right. So they lump all the singles in one batch
Okay.
and have a singles conference when there are different singles. There are singles that have never been married. There are
Yeah.
singles that are divorced. There are singles that are in
Yeah.
transition. There are singles that are widowed, and each
Yeah.
one has a different approach. So it wouldn't
Yeah.
be fair to lump everyone. And then you have singles who are young, middle age, and then you have seniors. So I was trying to design it in a way that I met the needs of each single. And so
That
I
is
asked my
awesome.
husband, who we were friends, to do one of the workshops. His
Okay.
workshop was entitled "Me Tarzan, You Jane: The Difference Between Men and Women." And so he did
Wow.
that one. And while we were working on the conference, one day he was at my house And he began to talk to me, and he began to speak all the conversation that I had with the Lord.
Mm.
And so when he got finished, he said, he got real quiet and he looked at me like, uh-oh, what I do? He said, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I didn't tell him right away what had
Okay.
happened. Because basically, I was grappling with, the Lord just did this right before my eyes. How am I supposed to respond? This is what I asked for.
Yeah.
And so he began to tell him all of my secrets. And he began to unlock me literally right there on the couch. And he didn't know he was prophetically speaking and that God was just downloading all of it to him.
Wow.
And that's how I knew that he was my husband. That's because I made a pact with God, but it was other things besides that. It was just that that moment sealed it for
Hmm.
me.
My
And
God.
so you have to understand that you're not looking for a sign all the time. You're looking for that thing that's going to seal it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you work, and we, from there on, we understood that that was, and then I eventually told him what happened. And
Wow.
eventually he found a journal. And when I tell you, when I wrote down how old I wanted my husband to be to the Lord and all of that other stuff,
Wow.
we found a journal like 5 years into my marriage, and everything that he was at the time was on that list. And so God will, you think you're just doing stuff,
Yeah.
God will honor your request. If
He
you're
will
living
honor it.
good, he's going to honor your
My
request.
God.
He's going to honor it. And
God.
all you have to do, all I was, and let me give you his word. He said that a man that find a wife finds a good thing and obtaineth favor from the Lord. Here's the problem. We are trying to spend our time being found instead of spending our time trying to be a good thing.
Oh my goodness. Listen,
So,
first of all, let me say this. We're gonna have to do a part two. This is happening with everybody. Because we are way over our time, and I'm trying to be nice to my son and let him edit good timing.
mm,
But let me say this. Oh my goodness. Me and another friend had the same conversation the other day. And I said, it's so many women who are missing the point.
mhm,
Number one, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, right? So let's stop
mhm,
there. You are already a wife before you are found.
mhm.
You are already a wife. But we get so caught up on that paper. Make me, marry me, say to me. You get so caught up on that you're not even mixing a whole nother scripture. Be faithful over a few things and I'll make you ruler over many.
Over many.
He's
Yes.
not just talking about things, but he's also talking about positions. How in titles, how can you be faithful here and not be faithful here? So while you're trying to, you got women that say, I don't even like cooking, but you want to be a wife. I don't really like cleaning that much, but you want to be a wife.
Yes.
I like being bothered and babysitting kids. I'm tired of people's kids, but you want to be a wife.
Mhm.
Are things that come along with it. And you have to understand people in marriage in general, it's not, it's no way for you, or it's no way for it to be acceptable for either party to be selfish. So you got to
Right.
put away all your selfish matters, because
Yes, ma'am.
it comes down to, am I willing to do everything it takes to please his needs over top of mine? Because if I'm not worried about mine, he's going to make sure that I'm pleased.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we going to definitely have to do a part two. We're going to have to definitely do a part two. And what I'm also discovering is that it seems like I'm doing these interviews with people, and with my intent on what I thought the interview was going to be about, it changes. And it's a
Yes.
whole nother direction. And so what I see here is a direction of marriage, a direction of dating, a direction of giving women more understanding of who you are and who you need to be before you get to that part, and understanding that it's very important to be honest with yourself. You can't get to that position that she's in, nor the position that I am in, either as a wife, unless you first be honest with yourself. First, be honest with yourself.
Yourself.
That's the most important part. So if you, I'm telling you, if you are not, it, God wants us to be so honest with him that
Mm-hmm.
we say to ourselves, this is an issue that I'm having. This is the God, this is what I'm dealing with. And I need help because I don't want to get in my marriage and I don't want to cheat. But we
Right.
don't want to be that honest. We want to say, oh God, I'm fine. Just get me married and I'll be good because I'm
No, 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 no,
no, no,
no.
no, baby. It's 10 times more to that story. So you got to be prepared to be honest with God so he can be honest with you and be honest enough to say, but you ain't ready.
Yeah.
But I need to fix you a little bit more. But I need to change this around. I need to move this around. I need to get this together. So it's very important that we are honest with God. It's very important that y'all come back and catch number 2 because we is like down to the wire, you guys. But listen, I got to hear some more of these stories because they are funny, and I know it's much worse, and you're just trying to be nice on camera.
Yes, I am.
That's why I gotta hear it because I know it's funny. But you guys, Cassandra, did you? I'm going to give you a chance to tell the people about your service, where they can connect with you, about your services, and then we are going to do a part 2. Of course, yet again, y'all can see all of her information is linked below. And she's going to go ahead and she's going to do a commercial for you guys to let you guys know about her services that she offered, even though we're going to talk about marriage and stuff next time too. Y'all need to know about her services. So go ahead and tell them about your services, ma'am.
Okay, I am located in the city of Chicago, Illinois. I am a licensed esthetician and makeup artist in the city of Chicago. I offer makeup services and esthetician services such as facials, waxing. I do consultation. I teach makeup classes. We do body treatments.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm mobile. Sometimes I have a studio, which I'm in right now. I'm in my studio, and so I work with women. I work with all ages,
Yeah.
and I love my seniors.
Yeah.
I will say that. I have to say that I love my seniors, and I am not discriminatory because I just hit 50 last month, and I'm
Yeah.
excited about entering this new jubilee. I have a Facebook page. It's Masterpieces by Cassandra McClendon. So you can find me on Facebook and
Yeah.
also Cassandra McClendon on Facebook. And our church is the Cornerstone Church of
Yeah.
Chicago.
Please
The
and tell them
Cornerstone.
about the church.
Yeah, we're located on the southeast side of Chicago. The leaders are my parents, the apostles Cleveland and Dr. Francis L. Person.
Yeah.
She is a warfare teacher. She is actually teaching now in the FAM Institute, and she has to tell a set of students to go, and they don't want to go. But
Oh my
we're
God.
located at 8521 South
Yeah.
Commercial in Chicago, Illinois. Our services right now, we're social distance. We're following all the guidelines. We just have a morning service. We do broadcast Facebook Live from the page. Again, the Cornerstone Church of Chicago. And we just welcome anyone. I did the theme song for our church, and the song has a line that says, you're welcome to our home. You are welcome to
You,
Cornerstone.
you ain't
This
gonna
is
you
our
ain't gonna
place of
sing it.
worship.
You ain't
Huh?
gonna sing it. You ain't gonna sing it.
This is our place of worship, a house of refuge for all. This is our place we offer to you, no matter who you are. This is the place for the neglected.
My God.
We're glad that you selected the stone that the builders rejected. You are welcome to our home. You are welcome to Cornerstone.
My God.
Amen.
Your words is power.
Yeah.
My
Welcome
Lord.
to Cornerstone. So I thank
Welcome
you
to.
all. I've enjoyed this.
Yes. So you guys, thank you so much for joining, you guys. Thank you for watching, and you got to make sure that you come back for part 2. not deuces, not peace out, but part two. Make sure you be back. All right. So Cassandra, say bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.